Hey everybody, it's me, Idris. So today, I think you guys already know, but I have some patriots, some new patriots that just entered. So up first, we have Amy Tuttle. Amy, I want to thank you for joining the Patreon. You are a patriot. Everything that you're doing right now is right. It's right. Just keep on doing what you're doing, supporting this show, and making sure that Brandon one day can afford dick pills. Thank you for your patronage, Amy. Next up, we have we have Angelique Franklin. Angelique, let me tell you this. When I saw your name, I immediately thought, oh, the first name rings true because she's an angel. Because she's a patriot and she's actually paying in euros. So therefore, you are an even closer patriot to my heart. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart as a fellow Brit. And I want to say thank you for your patronage. I love you very much. Thank you for everything that you're doing right now. And last but not least, we have CJ Jones. CJ, let me tell you, I want to know what CJ stands for. I know I have a friend, and his brother, or his daddy's name is Concho, and his his son, he named him Concho Jr., so Concho Jr. goes for CJ. I'm just wondering what yours is. Maybe it's Calvin, maybe it's Calvin James, who knows? But either way, I'll tell you what I do know about you. You're a patriot. Thank you for your patronage, CJ. You are a great, great man, even though your name most likely is not Concho, because, hey, how many people out there named Concho, right? Either way, I want to thank you all for continuing to support the show. Have a great night. Idris, out.
Medium popcorn. We are two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me, and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn. Woo! You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, I'm a street light choking on the heat. The world spins around while I'm frozen to my seat. The people that I know all keep on rolling down the street. But every day is different, so I'm switching up the beat. Cause my parents came with nothing. They got a little more and sure we're poor. But yo, at least we got the store. And it's all about the legacy they left with me, it's destiny. And one day I'll be on the beach with Sunny writing checks to me.
In the heights, I hang my flag up on display.
We came to work and to live and we got a lot in common.
It reminds me that I came from miles away.
D.R.P.R. we are not stopping.
In the heights,
Every day, paciencia y fe.
Until the day we go from poverty to stock
in the
options.
heights, I got today.
Today's all we got, so we cannot stop. This is our block.
In the heights, I hang my flag upon display. It reminds me that I came from miles away. From miles in the heights, it's more expensive every day. And tonight is so far away.
But as for mañana, mi pana, you gotta just keep watching. You see, the late nights, you'll taste beans and rice. The syrup is shaved ice. I ain't gonna say it twice. Turn up the street lights. We taking the flight to a couple of days in the life for what it's like.
In Washington Heights.
Hey everybody, that's just our review. That's it. Just if you like that song, then you're gonna love the rest of this shit. So just go watch the movie. That's our review for Media Popcorn.
Wow, I'm so glad you brought me downstairs for this.
I just wanted to see you. Haven't seen you in a few hours. Hey everybody, it's Media Popcorn, nigga spoiling movies. We are going to be spoiling this a little bit because we do want people to enjoy it, especially if you've never seen In the Heights, if you've never listened to it before. But joining me for this mini episode is Tatiana. Say hi to the people.
Hello, it's Tatiana. We're married. You should know
Tatiana.
that's my name.
Tatiana.
But yes, it is I, Tatiana. I am so excited to be on this particular podcast because In the Heights definitely has a very like soft spot in my heart, even though I'm not from Washington Heights. I've seen the musical, I think 3 or 4 times before it went off Broadway.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know where you want to get started.
I mean, I guess we could talk about our relationship with this musical. Like, I love In the Heights. I think I've seen it 4 times as well, if not a little bit more. And I don't know what pulled me towards it. I mean, obviously the music's really good. I think it was the representation, now that I think about it, because I think it was the first musical I ever seen that was predominantly black and brown people. Because I saw that before I saw Memphis, right?
Got it.
And so In the Heights just like, it just had so much energy and like just like culture, and I was just so fucking into it. And that's why, like, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like, I know sometimes people clown him and stuff, but his music is so powerful and something that resonates with me so deeply. Like, between this and Hamilton, I mean, it's crazy that he's that talented to be able to do completely different types of musicals, and yet they each have had a huge cultural impact.
I'm not surprised that he's that talented. I just think that our people have never been given the platform to showcase it. You know, and people talk about, like, who is the smartest person ever? And they talk about IQ tests and Einstein having, 160. I might have just made all those numbers up. I don't know. But the thing is, it's like, no, that doesn't mean Einstein was the smartest person ever, because not everyone gets an IQ test, and not everybody, it's just like if you've never been given the platform, or no one, takes you seriously, then you will never know what's out there. And so the cure for cancer is probably not in the head of a scientist that currently exists. It's probably some poor kid drinking water out of like a puddle in some like backwoods, like tribal country. But because they don't get the same opportunities as everybody else, we will never know.
Yeah.
And so I think similarly to you, In the Heights, the musical always resonated with me because it is like, as a New Yorker, as a Puerto Rican, as, I don't want to say like multi-generational, but like my grandparents are from Puerto Rico, born and raised. And so my parents were born in New York, but just even like seeing my culture and just like understand, like people like Lin-Manuel gets me because, we're probably cousins. And so I was incredibly excited to hear that this was being made into a movie. And
it's been in development for a long time.
And you and I had discussed the fact that Spike Lee wanted to do it. And we talked about it a little bit, where I was just like, yeah, why not? And then we sort of paused and was like, well, maybe Spike Lee.
He would have been better served through the right to Rent, probably more than this, if he wanted to do a musical again.
Well, I mean, at this point, the way, like, we just got to wait like 7 years and then it'll get rebooted. And
oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, Rent. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a huge year for musicals, because between this and the trailer just came out for Lin-Manuel, Tick, Tick, Boom, with Andrew Garfield. Lin-Manuel directed it. Okay. And so this is going to be a huge year, I think, for him.
And he also he has like another Disney movie.
I think that might be coming out next year, though.
Oh, okay. But the trailer came out not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, he's going to probably be just doing films, because the pressure for his next Broadway musical is going to be so insane.
Well, I mean, I think that was the biggest thing, right? Like, growing up in New York City, and the first Broadway musical my mom like scraped her pennies put together was Phantom of the Opera, and I really enjoyed it. And
the Phantom of the Opera is there.
Yes.
That movie sucked.
Well, we're not talking about that movie.
I know. Just and I love me some Emmy Rossum. That was just god awful.
But I would say that that was just more of, we live in New York City. There's no reason why we cannot afford these things that are just across the river from us. Yep. And so, as you know, like music is such a big part of Latino culture. And anyways, all of that to say that eventually, I grew up and got older and started working, and we took my mom for her birthday. Do you remember that? Like, you had seen In the Heights separately. I had seen In the Heights separately.
Okay, who was Usnavi? Is that the one we saw with Cordon? Because I think we saw it twice. One was with Cordon Bleu from High School Music. Corbin Bleu, whatever. Cordon Bleu, whatever his name is. And then the other one was with Jordan Sparks, right?
Jordan Sparks did not play Usnavi.
No, but she obviously, but she was Nina, I think, or something like that.
Oh, so then we probably seen it together a couple of times. Yeah. I saw it where Usnavi was played by Lin-Manuel.
I never saw that one.
Oh, so I saw it. Usnavi was played by Lin-Manuel, and Vanessa, the love interest, like looked exactly like me, or we resembled each other. And I remember where I used to work. A bunch of my white coworkers were like, "Have you seen In the Heights?" And I was like, "Yes." You're about to tell me I look like Vanessa, and they were like, "Oh my gosh!" And she was like, "Trigueña." So trigueña in Spanish is like tan. Or olive skin, and she had like curly hair, and in the musical she wore her curly hair on stage. And then you and I probably started dating, and then we saw with Corbin Bleu at one point, and then Jordan Sparks another point.
It's real quick, but I don't want to lose this. It's interesting you brought up being tan or whatever, because if there's any kind of negativity going towards this movie right now, is that the leads are very light skin.
They're fair, but also
because a lot of people are like saying like Afro Latinos, like that's a huge thing in the Heights. Like the lead should have been darker, like almost like darker than Corey Hawking in some ways.
Well, here's the thing: is I thought the same thing, because yes, representation matters, and I'm not trying to take away from that sentiment.
Yep.
I don't know who auditioned. You know, like there's so much that's out of the realm of possibility, that, or not possibility, just out of our scope, right? As audience members. And so, yes, I agree that it was a little fair skin, but then I look at my own family and they're 90%, fair skin. Yep. And so it's just kind of like,
very true.
I get it. And this was truly a love letter to Washington Heights, but as someone who's from New York, you get that overarching umbrella of a love letter to New York. It talks
every year a kid's gonna watch this movie.
Oh, of course. It talks about gentrification. It talks about, the loss of loved ones. It's having dreams. It is, those things are transcend.
Being a dreamer.
Well, that is a big difference between the movie and the musical.
And it works. It makes sense.
It does. And the change absolutely makes sense. And if you have not seen the musical on Broadway, or like a traveling company, or you've heard the soundtrack on Spotify, you'll notice that the songs are different. The lyrics have changed.
Some lyrics are different. Like they don't make the Trump reference anymore. They talk about, like, it's, I really liked it because at first it threw me off, right? And then I was like, but I get why they did some of these changes. Like the whole story with Sonny being like undocumented, because you're like, like why wouldn't Usnavi take him to DR? And it gave a little bit more layers with that, with the scene with Mark Anthony as his dad in that cameo.
Yeah, that was a surprise cameo too.
I had no idea he was in this
how did
movie.
they keep Mark Anthony super quiet? I like that change. It took me a while to wrap my head around it, just because I wanted to sing with it, and then when I noticed the lyrics had changed, I was like, wait a minute, this is a different movie than the play. But I like the changes. I welcome the changes. I understand too, when Lin-Manuel wrote In the Heights, he was in a very different place.
Yes.
And also, in the Heights was in a different place. The country was in a different place. And now the world is in a different place. So now that you have a larger platform, you can't talk about these regional things. And so in the musical, they are talking about racism, with Benny and Nina. And that's something that is not something that maybe needs to be spotlight in this movie. They talk about gentrification, which they do talk about in the movie, but the dreamer experience is the one that's more prominent.
This is a lot more uplifting than the Broadway musical in a weird way. Like it was so much more hopeful, and maybe it's because we're coming out of COVID and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I keep watching this movie over and over because I find it so inspiring. It actually is it's better than I ever could imagine the film version of this could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think John Chu did a really good job.
Fantastic.
I mean, I don't know how much, Lin-Manuel had to do with that.
He's not even from New York, so I'm like, the fact that he got some of the shit, especially even like the scenes with the cooking, like that probably did come from Lin, like as a very hands-on.
Yeah, there's so much, even just like the pool scene. If you've ever been to a public pool in New York, well, especially in certain areas, they're bigger than others.
That was a tough scene, and that's the only scene where you could tell, you could see the green screen when Anthony he's like singing on his own. He's singing on his own, and you see like the green screen, but it's fine like that.
Yeah, I mean, we also don't know how much of it may have been reshot during COVID. There's so much. I was really disappointed when it didn't come out last year. You know that.
Yep.
And
Same.
I think because we were so excited for its release, and then COVID happened, but part of me is like, I don't think the country, given COVID, given the George Floyd, protests and all the things that happened in 2020, I think that this movie would have been overlooked. And also just like the sentiment, like Trump was still president, like most people were feeling down and out. We had the election coming up. It was just too compacted with stuff. So I do think that this wouldn't have gotten this. Like, I'm ready for the summer. I'm ready to have a family barbecue. I'm ready to like throw on my salsa on Saturday mornings and start cleaning the house from top to bottom. It was a great reminder too of just like who we are, how far we come. And even when you feel down, like you can pick yourself back up and you have a support system. Yeah. It may not always be the family that you are born to, but your chosen family as well. And so I think that audiences will feel or should feel that. I don't want to speak for audiences. And I think one of the in the past month, because we got the screener pretty early, and I've actually seen on their Facebook page for In the Heights, the movie, that they had screenings for regular people, and people were like, I got to see this on Mother's Day, and I took my mom, and they have such great positive reviews, and this idea that they were just like making it available and making it accessible. I don't know how they got the access to it, but who knows?
They did a great job, like just building up the anticipation. Again, going back to John Chu, I admit I was very skeptical when he was confirmed to direct this, because before Crazy Rich Asians, everything he had done before that was kind of ugh. And then before that was Kenny Ortega, who directed a lot of those high school musicals, and
I was not down.
Exactly.
With
so
that.
I was very surprised. And for me, the changes that they made, like going back to the plot changes, the fact that they didn't, do the whole lottery thing, like Abuela tells them that they won, and that's the catalyst for why he moves to DR. Like they set it up at the very beginning, and that's why I was like, oh, that's different. When they're like, the place that your father used to live. In Puerto Rico, it's
in Dominican
Republic. Sorry, I get them. It's the land's available. Like this beach is available, and Usnavi's been saving up for it, and he's like, "Wow, it's really happening." And so that's the catalyst for why he's talking about leaving the Heights.
Well, also like everything is changing. And so I do have a small. Well, it's not that small because you've heard me talk about it in the times that we've just watched it, which is. They do make some changes I just don't understand.
Okay.
And so one is Nina's mom being dead. In the stage musical, she's a part of that narrative. And her husband's story, which is about like Nina's older, like she's a woman coming of her own, whatnot. So Nina's mom, it does not exist in this movie. And they add in a lot of things to sort of like remind Nina of like her strength and like talking about mom. And it's fine. It's just new and different, and I didn't understand it. Then they introduce, and I actually respect the fact that Dasha Polanco is from New York. She is Afro-Latina, but they added a character just for her. and gave
No, I
her.
thought there was always 3.
There was never a Kuka. That
Really?
like that Kuka character is new.
Oh, interesting.
But then they didn't give her anything. So it's like you took out a character that actually is strong to the development of a main character and added a secondary, I'm going to say tertiary character that adds no value.
I mean, she was just fun. She was there, like, she was always, like, just dancing and having a good time. That's, like, her
That's
character.
literally this whole thing is dancing and having a good time.
Well, there's some sad scenes, like
So-
when Abuela dies and stuff.
Well, yeah.
That was a really powerful scene, though, when, the audience knows that she won the lottery.
Yes.
And then when Usnavi finds the lottery ticket, he's like, God damn. And I'm like,
No, I don't think the audience knows.
oh, maybe we do just because
because we
seen
know the
musical.
musical.
Okay.
But it's
I thought
not-
she did it. She had the lottery ticket before the Paciencia Fe song.
Paciencia y fe.
I'm
trying to help you.
I'm trying to.
We've been together for 11 years. Come
Listen,
on.
I told you that my brain don't work well.
In English, so maybe Spanish would be better.
Possibly. I'm pretty good at ASL though.
Are you?
I can say my name.
You can spell your name because you don't say anything.
Yeah.
I can too. What are we talking about here?
I don't know.
No. So I would say that those changes, while they seem minor, and as an audience, if you've never seen the musical, then no harm, no foul. You don't know. But for me, I was just like, yeah. So, and that's what I started talking about. If we're talking about representation and even that, like there were characters that Dasha Polanco could have played that were true secondary characters and had options. And maybe she's not a singer, and that's why they couldn't like add her truly, because everybody sings, including Dr. Dre.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel terrible. I know
Corey
you
Hawkins.
interview him. I don't know his name. He was Dr. Dre.
He surprised me. I didn't think he could sing like that. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
he was a really good singer.
Yeah, he was able to keep up with the dancing and
even the
everything.
young kid that plays Sonny, that he was in like Vampires versus the Bronx.
Yep.
And like
he was way better in this than that movie.
oh, absolutely. He's also a little bit older.
True. Yeah. And they cast it really well. I mean, I haven't even talked about Anthony Ramos, who I've talked about on Twitter. I said he's the Spanish Kelvin Harrison Jr. for me. Like, he's going to be so huge. He's incredibly talented.
He has a new single out now.
Everything I see him in, I'm always like, this dude's going to be something. And like, this is a great starting role for him.
I think so too. And I think that was also part of the excitement, right? Of also seeing new people in leads.
Yes.
And new people in leads that, like, obviously we've not seen it yet. It's not come out. But when I think about the fact that they're redoing West Side Story and they didn't modernize it, and it's like they got this young girl straight out of high school who's very talented, but they're just it's literally just a new cast on an old script.
Fun fact about that. Apparently they were filming side by side in like New York. Mm-hmm. And so they were like so close that Lin-Manuel was able to like go over to the set and see them record Maria.
And I'm sure he was like, this shit is trash. I don't know.
He probably came back like, y'all, like, I mean, it's going to be a year of musicals, but we in good shape.
No, I mean, I'm just really disappointed in the Steven Spielberg version of this. And I think within the Heights, it's giving us something new and fresh. And even like Jimmy Smits, who's
he was great in this.
The fact that Lin-Manuel took a back seat because he plays Usnavi, in the musical. And so he takes a back seat.
He was the Pirago guy, and they had the cameo with Chris Jackson, who was the original Benny in the musical.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. Like, if you're a fan of this shit, like,
Yeah.
when you see little things like that, you're like, oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, and like for those of you who know who the Piragüero is, like the shaved ice guy, he's especially in communities that are like predominantly Hispanic, Latino. There's a Piragüero everywhere. In Puerto Rico, you have Piraguas, like they're on every corner. And so he's such a like pillar to the community as well. And so I really appreciated Lin-Manuel being like, Anthony Ramos got this as the lead, and I'll play the Piragüero. And I'm sure he was like, ooh, I can like gain some weight. Like, I don't have to do the Hollywood diet.
Well, he's also a little bit too old too. Like, that's the thing.
I mean, of course, but sometimes people's egos are like too big, and he's like, this is what got me my start, like I'm gonna star in it. He could have done that and he didn't.
Yeah, I think if anything, he could probably star in Hamilton, like the older version of Hamilton, just because of like, how long that movie, I mean, that play, the timeline. So I think that's where he could step in and potentially be a lead. But for this, like, I always knew there's no way, like, they were going to go for a young cast. And again, they cast it really well. Melissa Barrera, who plays Vanessa, she's going to be huge. She has one of the leads in Scream 5. She's about to be out here too.
Well, hopefully it's different than Scream 4.
It's by the dudes that did Ready or Not. So I have confidence in them because that was a pretty good movie.
Okay.
We watched it together. What are you saying? Okay, like
okay. I mean, I'm not trying to move into other genres of movies.
Just saying. I'm just saying, like, the representation, especially for Hispanic people, I think is becoming more and more mainstream, and that's exciting because the other lead is the little sister from You season 2. So
yes,
2 Hispanic leads for a huge horror movie franchise. Like, for some reason, that gets me really excited. I don't know why.
Well, for me, it's just about like Cream should rise to the top regardless, right? So like the fact that
Cream.
Okay.
I want coffee now. I'm sorry.
Okay, so my whole thing is
Café con leche.
Yes. Also, this movie truly powered by Bustelo.
Of course.
But so if I'm going to talk about my second gripe is the fact that the whole In the Heights song talks about I can't survive without café, and in this movie, no one drinks café.
Because it was probably summer when they filmed this shit. No one's going to be drinking hot-ass coffee in multiple takes.
I was like, hey, y'all passing this coffee cup, but no one's actually drinking
one did
it.
Drink the
like, even the people that were making coffee at home, no one was drinking café.
Well, babe, they're all singing and dancing. They can't be...
Abuela could have been on the stoop just like taking a sip. I'm just saying that I know as someone who drinks her coffee every day, who in Puerto Rico, when we go down to Puerto Rico, we have coffee practically every day. The heat has nothing to do with it. You know, this idea of the song even saying, I can't survive without café, and no one has ever taken a sip of coffee in this movie. just a little nitpicky on my end. But if I was paying attention to that, that means it was literally 99% like amazing. And I know, for me, it like I did get emotional at some point, and I was like, this is why representation matters because this could have been any musical, just, whatever. And it could have been anyone. They could have put anyone in these roles for whatever reason, right? For the Hollywood, standard of they're not big enough yet or whatnot. And so it's like, wow, these are individuals who actually can sing.
Yes, Stephanie Beatrice. I didn't know she could sing.
They can actually dance. The choreography was really good. And then they can actually act. There was never a point where I was like, this is terrible acting.
Yeah, and I think that's going to the whole Nina and Jimmy Smith's character, the Rosarios. I think the reason why they maybe omitted the mom was to give it a little bit more dramatic weight. And that's why, like, you understand why Jimmy Smith is so adamant about her going back to school. Because I think in the musical, it felt not forced, but it was just like, man, this guy's really, like, kind of going in on her. Versus in the movie, like, I thought it gelled a lot better. And that's probably, a tribute to the performances of
it's
those
also
actors.
Guilt tripping.
Like,
if we're gonna bring it up to speed to 2021, it's guilt tripping. But
also shout out to Jimmy Smith for getting his Hollywood star recently.
Oh yeah, true. It is. So that was a change because even Nina's storyline is different, right? Minus the mom,
Yeah, her and Benny don't really have the falling out like they do in the musical.
Yeah, in the musical they have a huge falling out. Her dad does not approve of Benny, and there's like some underlying racial issues with it. But also, she just couldn't cut it at college. Like, it was too much pressure.
Oh, yeah. She had that great scene where she talked about the college experience, which was not in the music.
And so in the movie, it changes to being like I'm not like them because of X, Y, and Z's reasons, and this was my experience. And so I just want to be around people who look like me and know the type of person I am. it had nothing to do with the fact that like she was struggling in school academically.
Yeah, I mean, she said when she first got into the dorm room, her new roommate lost like some earrings or something, and they searched
her.
Yeah,
and then
like,
you know, and so that is something that you and I discussed too, because we went to the same university, and you and I went there on the power of intelligence, right? And so lots of scholarships and whatnot. And I think my sophomore year, I had gotten this like very particular grant. And we had to go to like a breakfast or something for all the donors where you know, show pony around and they feel better. And this woman, because we were adults at that time, right? Yeah. Who I am assuming is of white descent, because who knows, literally thought she had the right to question my academic achievements, my SAT scores, because she got, you know, the grant and I got the grant, and her friend applied for the grant, but her friend didn't get it. And she was surprised to see me there. And I was just like, what? Like, are we not admitted into the same university, and clearly we're sitting at the same grant, you know, breakfast meeting, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, the university has already decided that I was deserving of this. Who are you?
Yep.
And so like that moment really, really resonated with me, because I was just like, I don't think I ever told my mom that, because my mom's dream was literally like, oh shit, my daughter's going to college. And this is something I never did. So I didn't want to tell her my sophomore year that I was like, yo, not to say academically I wasn't hacking it or whatever, but it was like, this college experience isn't all fun and games and this and that. Like, I'm dealing with other people my age literally projecting their isms onto me. And so it was just like, really, really, it was a real moment that I think our people go through. And so for multitude of reasons, that was the one thing with this movie that I was just like, this is so real. Like, obviously not the singing and dancing in the street, but like the actual issues were real.
Exactly. And when people like don't know because they didn't go to college themselves, it's hard for you to try to like get them to really understand without having to be, go to those extremes and talk about the details of like the trauma that you went through. Like, I remember in college, like I had some really fucked up experiences, and I'm like, even being in New York, like there's still some fucked up stuff that happens. And actually just reminded me, we need to go back and watch Dear White People, because I always think about that scene when they were having that party, and the one black kid, he's like, rapping with this white dude, and the white dude starts saying nigga, and he's like, hey man, don't do that. And it becomes a whole to-do with like the black and white people on campus, and then campus security comes, and who do they fucking harass? The black guy. And I just remember like that being such a powerful scene. I'm like, I can't imagine how many times that's happened to someone, though, a person of color on a college campus. Yeah. Around the country. Like, you just know it happens all the time.
I mean, but that's I think the resiliency, right, of that this movie is showing. Like, even from young, you hear what Sonny is going through. You hear what they, the older
what Abuela went through.
Yeah.
She might get nominated off that performance.
Abuela talks about coming from Cuba with her mom, and that's
a great song.
That was back in 19 whatever she sings about. And so it's this whole thing of being like, times change, but do they really change? And so, and also all the things that like make this community are now being taken away from us. And what do we do?
Yeah, that's what Daphne Rubin Vega, Daniela, that's what she's talking about, because she has to move her salon. By the way, shout out to her, because I know she's had like a up and down career with like starting a Rent and then like doing all these other musicals. I was so glad to see her, because I didn't really know who was in this movie. I kind of like wanted to be surprised. Yeah. So when I started watching, I'm like, oh shit, she's in this? She's Daniela? Oh, Carnaval de Barrio is going to be fucking dope. Yeah. And I've literally watched that musical number, I would say at least 10 times.
Yeah, it's totally worth. I mean, it's
so good. The choreography, the energy is
just. It's an excellent, excellent, excellent song. It's my favorite from the musical in general, and it was like the highlight. I was like, we were like halfway through the movie, and it hadn't come up yet, and I was like, don't tell me they cut this damn song out. Like, I was looking like real nervous, and you were like, what's wrong? I was like, where's Carnaval de Barrio? And you were like, T, give it time. I was like, where's?
Because there were a lot more acting scenes in
Yes.
this, so it didn't go song like the musical does.
Yes.
And so I get your anxiety, but like I think I saw a trailer where they were like performing that song, so I knew it was going to come up. And
Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
never know what gets cut.
That's true. That's true. I mean, a lot of stuff gets cut from like cool trailers and shit.
And you're like, what? That's what I was expecting or not expecting.
I
So-
did love the addition of like it gave the viewer like a little bit more closure to Usnavi's story. Like we have like him narrating the story with these kids, and it looks like they're on the beach, but then it's revealed to be the bodega. It's just been renovated,
Yeah.
and that he's with Vanessa. They have a daughter, and I thought just his interactions with the kids are so cute. Like, like they're like speaking Spanglish and like.
Well, I pointed out, it was like, if this is DR, then these kids have really great English accents. I was like,
Yeah, you said that.
I was like,
You
they're
peeped that
clearly
early.
not. And you were like, what? And I was like, never mind.
Yeah, you said that. You're like, this is kind of weird because their accents, and I was like, really? That's the thing? And then I was like, oh, okay. They're probably gonna reveal that that's his daughter because all the scenes like between his interaction with that little girl, I'm like, it's most likely his daughter. With
Yeah.
Vanessa. And that made sense, and I think that just made the ending more well-rounded. And for me, this is best movie of the year so far.
Yeah. I mean, you know how everybody talks about for the culture, like this is truly for the cultura. Like this
This is y'all's Black Panther.
Sure.
Crazy Rich. No, for real though.
Yeah.
Like, in regards to this scale, like, and the crazy thing is, I thought this was gonna be like $100 million movie. The budget was only $55 million.
I you know me, when it comes to movies and budgets, I don't know what that means. So.
But the sheer numbers of like the background dancers for some of these numbers, like the pool scene alone, that's like hundreds of extras dancing.
Well, listen,
It's incredible.
I am so excited that we get to do this review, that it's actually the movie is coming out.
Yeah.
It's out, as of today.
Yep.
That people, lots of movie theaters are already sold out. I think that for a lot of people who didn't have the opportunity to see the musical, they are going to be not only just like pleasantly surprised, but truly ecstatic because, aside from when we talk about Latinos, right? Or we talk about Spanish speaking countries, there's over 30 Spanish speaking countries. That means there's over, at the very least, 30 different cultures that it's hard to represent in just one piece. And so I do want to say that this is the family pieces and all that stuff. There's certain topics that truly transcend no matter what, right? White, Black, Latino, like Asian, etc. But in this is truly like Caribbean Latino, where is very unique to being Mexican, Central American, South American,
Jamaican. Because I watched Carnaval de Barrio before we started reviewing this, and Corey Hawkins has a Jamaican flag during that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even peep that first time.
So but my thing is though, it's like when you recognize that your culture is truly unique, it doesn't negate all the other ones. It's not saying this is the singular experience of a Latino in Washington Heights. It just means predominantly the people that are in this space are of this particular culture, and this is what we are highlighting. And so for me, it's a little more personal because I'm of Puerto Rican descent. Of
course.
But it doesn't mean that, when I watch things like, was it like On My Block? That's very West Coast. It's very Mexican.
You
it's
love that show.
Yeah, but it's just like, like there's certain themes that transcend culture or experience, but there's a lot of things that they talk about on that show that I'm just like, I don't know. Like I don't know, and so I have to sort of like lend that to be that experience, and it's just not one that I've had on the East Coast, being of a Caribbean Spanish speaking nation.
Got it. Yeah, all right. So let's rate this bad boy. As you know, we rate movies on the scales of popcorn, small, medium, large, XL for the exceptional. If a movie does not deserve a bag of popcorn, we throw it to the dog shit pile, but we're not going to have to do that for this movie. So, Tatiana, we watched In the Heights, starring Anthony Ramos, Corey Hawkins, Leslie Grace, Jimmy Smits. What say you?
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes. I mean, all the people.
You keep going. You just don't stop it.
Daphne Rubin Vega.
Yeah.
Olga Marides, who's probably going to get Oscar nomination.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
I mean, this is a beyond an extra large. This is like the biggest bucket you could find.
Oh, okay. So you're giving the biggest rating you've ever given a movie.
Of course.
Okay.
This is that, like, that limited edition bucket that comes with the limited edition drink that you're supposed to keep the
box and the container and stuff. Okay.
It's that, and then add the refill into that bucket of popcorn.
Our guests on the podcast keep changing up this fucking popcorn thing. Like, you just adding condiments onto this thing. But I'm also giving it an XL. I love this movie. I'm going to keep watching it over and over until I get bored, which I won't. And I honestly was like, this could have been longer. Like, it's a little over 2 hours and 10 minutes or so. Almost 2.5 hours.
They did cut a few songs from the musical, which I did feel similarly. I was like, well, I mean, we're already in it, so we might as well just add another song or, another scene. But with, like we said, with the changes and whatnot.
Maybe that's why they did the Rosario thing, because Jimmy Smits didn't really sing. And remember, the dad has that song pretty early in the musical. So I think maybe they cut that and they were like, we're going to give you more dramatic scenes.
Listen, it is what it is. They made their changes for whatever reason.
Oh, cinematography might get nominated too, because that Abuela song, like just the way that was shot was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about that, I mean, Abuela definitely seals the show, like for sure. But I think it was so interesting because you and I were like, oh shit, this is just like walking around New York City, like I could see somebody wearing this outfit.
Yes.
I can see that's a real New York City trash can.
Yeah, you could definitely tell they filmed it in New York.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we really appreciated. Because we're like, if you're going to do something in New York, do it in New York. That's why I got frustrated when people were like, this is New York, but it's clearly it's Toronto or Chicago or some shit.
Atlanta. And you're like, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, as a New Yorker, as a true New York City-er, I should say, I really appreciate it. As a Puerto Rican, I appreciate it. Like it was just for 2021, this was such an amazing way to also start off the summer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And now that everything is reopening, if you want to feel good, this is it. But yeah.
All right. Well, Tatiana, how can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Boricua Collins.
You can follow me at American Collins on all social media platforms. You can follow the show at Medium P Podcast, also on all social media platforms. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube page because we have a lot of celebrity interviews, including Corey Hawkins and John Chu, who popped in there to talk about In the Heights. So if you want to learn a little bit more about their experiences doing this movie, definitely check out the YouTube page, subscribe so you get alerted about future interviews. And speaking of representation, if you are without plans on Juneteenth, Saturday, June 19th, please join us for Drunk Black History. You can get tickets at drunkblackhistory.com. Live stream only. Our in-person tickets have sold out. So, check it out. Come through. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are we going to end again? Because we sang in the beginning. So should we sing to close it out?
I'm going to put on one other song. And we'll rock it out here. Okay, yes, ING.
Que bochinche, Nina and Benny. Bochinche's gossip.
Hold up, wait a minute.
Snavi's leaving us for the Dominican Republic. And Benny went and saw the girl that I'm in love with. She was my babysitter first.
Listen up, is this what y'all want? We
close the bodega, the neighborhood is gone.
They selling the dispatch and they closing the salon and they'll
Never turn the lights back on, cause we are powerless. We are powerless.
And y'all keep dancing and singing and celebrating and it's getting late in this place to disintegrate. We are powerless.
I know y'all can't see me, but I'm dancing in my seat right now.
Powerless, so light up a candle. There's nothing going on here that we can't handle. Maybe you're right, sonny. Call in the corners. Maybe we're powerless. A corner full of foreigners. Maybe this neighborhood's changing forever. Maybe tonight is our last night together. However,
How do you want to face it?
You wanna waste it when the end is so close you can taste it. Y'all can cry with your head in the sand. I'ma fly this flag that I got in my hand.
Viva esa bandera, alzala donde quiera.
Can we raise our voice
Voice
tonight?
tonight. Can we make a little noise tonight?
Esa bonita bandera tiene mi alma entera.
In fact, can we sing so loud and raucous they can hear us across the bridge and east the
Caucus.
Viva esa bandera, alzala donde quiera.
From Puerto Rico to Santo Domingo, wherever we go, we rap our people and the beat goes.
Esa bonita bandera tiene mi alma entera.
Vanessa, forget about what could have been. Dance with me one last night in the hood again.
Huepa.
All right, y'all. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Medium popcorn. We are two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me. And Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn. Woo! You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault.